Why don't employees in Europe steal? When I think about service in Europe, I always consider this situation from both sides. My question now is, of course, addressed to the world. This really isn't a request for comments, but maybe someone can explain this to me on an ideological level. Why don't employees in Europe steal? I understand that it still exists, that theft hasn't disappeared anywhere in the world. But in most cases, in most restaurants, in most companies, stores, businesses, I see, meaning I can see it in the employees' eyes that they don't steal. I see it in their operational activities. I see it. Just as a customer in a supermarket, I can't understand why. Because, well, human nature is universal for any country, for any language. I see the opportunities that are available here in terms of what happens if the owners don't want to build a business in such a way as to protect themselves, to maximize profit and minimize losses. Well, in the simplest, in the most basic processes, there are employees who are, well, resourceful, and let's say to justify them, they are more in need than others. They could quite safely for themselves and unnoticed by others take and withdraw money or material assets from most of the companies I come across. But the funny thing is that when we delve into business processes, we see loopholes where, in theory, the owner could have been taken advantage of, and quite significantly by as much as 20% of the turnover. Well, you understand that losing 20% of the turnover basically means, well, just burying the business. Accordingly, I don't understand why employees here aren't doing this. All right, if Europe has such an influence on people, let's say they move from our countries, do they immediately start doing things the right way? Or, I don't know, being afraid of deportation isn't really a factor here either, because essentially these things can't be proven. A lot is being done. So, in general, I'm just sharing this with a bit of surprise. On my part, it's actually great. It's absolutely wonderful. And I'm glad about it because it allows you to build truly large and complex systems without constantly looking over your shoulder, worrying that someone will rip you off. Of course, you still need to look back in the right way. So we end up with a dilemma. So either the owners need to pull themselves together and solve this whole problem, or it turns out the employees have to steal. Because I observe a certain imbalance in the relationship between honest employees and somewhat absent-minded owners.